Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2026 Nissan Frontier Pro4-X R. Up front is a 3.8 liter V6, and down below is a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Pro4-X R because this is the ROUSH Nissan Frontier, meaning it has been upfitted by a company, it has different suspension, and we'll talk about all of that here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 3.8 liter V6. Well, that is unchanged for the ROUSH Frontier. And honestly, if you're like me, that is a little bit of a bummer just because I know of the ROUSH Mustangs and other ROUSH products that they've worked on. They normally add a supercharger, things like that. They make it a little bit more performance oriented, and the Frontier doesn't get that. It is all suspension, which we'll talk about here in a second. Like I said, paired to it, 9-speed automatic transmission, again, unchanged from the Frontier Pro4-X. However, it works well, no complaints. And last but not least about the drivetrain, like I said, that suspension is what's new for the ROUSH. It has Olin struts and shocks with external reservoirs made out of aluminum. This is a terrible shot of it. Here are the parts on a table. Pretty much all of the work is going to go into the suspension. It gets a 2-inch lift in the front. It gets Meteor tires. It gets special ROUSH wheels. And of course, ROUSH badging. It has an aluminum grille, so those broken tree branches aren't going to stab and break your radiator, and minor upgrades like that. But let's see how it drives out on Nissan's test track. So Nissan actually gave us the opportunity to try this on an off-road course as opposed to just on-road driving. So we start off here with just a pretty decent sized hump, nothing really too crazy beyond that. Up and over, crest it a little bit, and come around. Up next we have a curved embankment, so you'll see the ground come into view here in a second, but this is far from the steepest that we've done. Honestly, so I've done this whole course in a regular Pro4-X as well, and honestly, both trucks are so capable in this controlled environment, but the 2-inch lift, especially in the front, actually helps out quite a bit, and it does feel like it's rubbing and bumping on the gravel a lot less. So we'll have this sort of tip over point here, up and over. There we go. Again, like, easy work for this. Obviously, Nissan built this course, so they know it's going to be capable, but I think the impressive thing is how little throttle input I need to it, and honestly, it's comfy doing this. Like, it's comfortable to be going over bumps like this. I can't believe I'm saying that, but, oh, tipping over. There you go. Simple. Pretty simple. Now, this one is very scary. It's a very high modulation point, and so it swings back either way. This is the terrifying one. Oh great, TFL truck is filming me. So as you can see, there we go, and now it's going to switch to the other side dramatically. And right back down. So that felt like it was going to tip over, but it didn't. And even the regular Pro4-X's didn't either. This just has a lot nicer of a cushion. It's just overall nicer. It's a nicer experience. Do you want to go out on the trail and get beat up, or do you want to go out on the trail and actually have some vertebrae left? And that's what this package is able to deliver. It's able to sort of spare you some of the carnage that would usually come with a day off-road, which is pretty nice. All right, one final modulation test here. So it's sort of this like split, I guess, hump. There we go. So left wheel's gonna pick up, then right wheel. There we go, crashing back down. Oh, And there we go. Pretty straightforward at the end of the day, but I really, really like that. And it is impressive because it did all of that. Like, I have a bad back. It did all of that, and I feel fine. I feel normal. You know, I'm not getting beat up by doing these huge courses, which is really, really nice. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our source, enter, skip track, and volume, and off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise control. Off to the left of the wheel, we do get a climate control vent, we get our tow mode, gauge dimmer switch, and trip reset, we get our sensor beeps on and off, we get our outlet control, cargo lamp, traction control, and rear diff lock, again, of which we've been using here today. Moving on to the door, we do have power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. And moving into the center, we get our giant infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the typical Nissan system. However, it does have a trail camera, again, which has been extremely useful here today. And the trail camera's on. That's why you keep hearing beeping in the background, of which I apologize for. Down below, we do have some physical buttons for volume and tune, audio, menu, map, and of course that camera button. And the Frontier logo, which is about size 1000 font that you'll find in all other Frontiers. Down below, we do have our 4-wheel drive settings off to the left. Of course, we are leaving this in 4 low for today's video. We have our climate controls in the center, dual zone climate, very nice to see that, as well as we do get a 12-volt outlet off to the right. Again, a very nice feature to have here in the Frontier. And then we get some interesting buttons for our heated seats. We have our heated steering wheel, parking sensors on and off, USB-C, USB-A, and the passenger heated seat. Then we do get the center console shifter off to the left. However, down below that shifter, we actually do have a new drive mode for rock mode, which of course we've been using here today as well. It is very, very nice, and that is new for the Pro4-X Frontiers as well as the Pro4-XRs. So even if you just get the standard Pro4-X, you're gonna get that new drive mode. And then off to the right, we have cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and for the ROUSH, it does not change, so it still passes the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have a wireless charger and the seats. The seats are comfortable, they work well, and for the ROUSH, the headrests actually have the ROUSH logo stitched into them, which I absolutely adore. I think it is special, and I think in 30 years, 40 years, when you see these in junkyards, that's gonna be a highly sought after item. That's gonna be cool and really, really interesting. So I like that they add that ROUSHness to the seats. However, they are just for the front seats, so let's hop into the back and take a look back there. All right, so we're in the back of the 2026 Nissan Frontier Pro4-XR, and nothing really changes back here. We do have a USB-C, USB-A outlet, we have a wall outlet, and a center console with cup holders in here, but nothing for the ROUSH package really changes back here. We don't get anything on the headrest, we don't get anything too special. That's pretty much it. Here's the back seat of a Frontier, pretty much the same. Let's hop into the bed. Spoiler alert, it's the same. And then we'll talk about the looks. So around the back of the Frontier Pro4-XR, we do get a nice R badge, but basically that's the only changes. It does have a nice soft opening tailgate. We do have some tie-down straps as well as a wall outlet. So very, very nice to see that. But again, for the R package, nothing really changes for this between the standard Pro4-X Frontier. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and obviously this does have a little bit of a lift, a little bit more aggressive tires. It has the ROUSH badges, but overall, it's not a crazy difference between this and the standard Pro4-X Frontier or really any other Frontier. It's a very, very minimal package, but it is something a little bit nicer, and we'll talk about that in a second. But visually, I think they could have gone a little bit crazier. I wish they did like a ROUSH graphics package, but they actually told us that they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to make this huge deal over the ROUSH edition. They didn't want it to seem like a Ranger Raptor competitor because from their mouths, they said it's not a competitor to the Ranger Raptor. So that was kind of interesting to hear. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2026 Nissan Frontier Pro4-XR? Well, it's been great, and this thing really, really is interesting. What's interesting is that Nissan is being very realistic about this package. It is a nice suspension offering from the factory, and that's it. They're not trying to say that this is a Ranger Raptor competitor. They're not even trying to say it's a Colorado ZR2 Bison competitor. It's just something a little bit nicer. They themselves compared it to the Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road, and I have to agree with that. It's a little bit of a lift, a little bit nicer. They've just attached a really cool and interesting name to the project. Nissan still did the suspension tuning of the vehicle, but they get to say, hey, they have a ROUSH in their lineup, which is very, very special. Is this blowing my mind here today? No, but if you want something a little bit extra from the factory, this is a fantastic option, especially because it doesn't completely destroy the price tag. It doesn't make this unobtainium. This is still $8 grand cheaper than a Ranger Raptor. Yes, you get less, but still it's more affordable. It's for that off-road ready person, but not that person that eats dirt for breakfast, not the person that has 50 MREs packed away in their basement. It's not for the person that collects rainwater in case of the apocalypse. It's just that little extra inch, that little extra push, that little extra something. And so yes, you might see the ROUSH name and expect a lot, but really this is a pretty solid and pretty compelling project, especially when compared to the TRD Off-Road Tacoma. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Nissan for bringing me down here to Las Vegas to try out their Pro4-X R Frontier. I also drove the Armada Nismo today, so check that video out on the channel when you can and when it's available. They've been absolutely wonderful, paying for the airfare as well as hotel, and building this little course for us to go through here today. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.